A waterfall model. What is this? I feel like IT is such a grab bag, and not that I feel that, I know it's such a grab bag. And we're just kind of jumping all over the place, covering different topics within IT. Well, what is it? The system development lifecycle provides this model for use in creating a new system or choosing a new system in-house. Okay, so this is the waterfall model. So let's say we're using Excel, right? We're using Microsoft Excel and we want to switch to using Google Sheets online. Okay, so this is the systems development lifecycle, and it provides us the waterfall model. Now, here it is, I'll walk through it, but different teams of employees work on separate tasks of the model. This can create bottlenecks in the process. So we've got, we've got maybe 3 employees working here, we got 1 employee working here, we've got 4 working here. So there's different employees working on each step along the way. And first, I know it's a simple example, just switching over to Google Sheets from Microsoft Office, right? So first we plan, and maybe the planning team takes way too long, so the analyze team can't work. So right there is what we're talking about, bottlenecks in the way, so we can't do the analyze step until the planning step is done. Okay, once that's done, analyze is done quick, design done, developing, maybe there's 10 employees right there. So another example I'll use is we have an internally created system. When I was at PwC, there was internally created systems to generate the K1s for investors. Now, let's say PwC decides to completely change its internal system of how it generates the K1s, right? How it produces those. So instead of just switching to something else provided by someone else, M for Microsoft, now we're completely redeveloping our internal system. But yeah, we want to plan, analyze, design, develop, test it, deploy it, maintain it. Gosh, you just see the whole similarities. It's like everyone wants to just have their own model for something. And then, generally, I'm going to be straight with you. That is why we have so many of these models, these frameworks. They're all the same. It's planning and, getting it ready and deploying it, testing it, maintaining it. It's just the whole process. And yeah, there's all these organizations that want the pride and the glory, and that's why there's just so many processes that just look the same. And that's the truth. The CPA wants you to know, whatever we cover for the exam, and it is what it is. You'll be done with it soon enough, right? So nothing too crazy here. Be familiar with it. Don't have to fully memorize this. Additionally, there is no customer input in this process, and it's a lengthy process. Just facts you need to know for the exam. For questions that you might see on the waterfall model, again, it is a systems development life cycle. You have a system, and this doesn't have to be a computer software, right? It could be in a manufacturing plant. Maybe you have a system where I guess when they were making the assembly line, right? Back in the early 1900s with Henry Ford, unless it happened earlier. I don't know when they started planning on this. Might have been the late 1800s. Who knows? I wasn't there. They manually created these cars by hand, right? And individually worked on these cars, but now you have to streamline this assembly line idea, this crazy radical idea, which we use for, so much to these days. So yeah, the Henry Ford and the Ford plant, they planned it, analyzed, designed, developed the assembly line, tested it, deployed it, maintained the assembly line to produce those cars. That is what we have here. Let's keep moving along. IT systems. You could call this just more terms. These are terms related to systems, though. The purpose of testing information systems is to ensure that the end product meets the business and user requirements, to find defects during development, and to determine the level of quality. So you have an accounting information system software, right? It's how you make journal entries and your general ledger. You got your AIS, the accounting information system that you do your journal entries, right? It produces the GL. This is where you input your data. It's the whole system. And then that produces your financial statements. This is how it all works. Well, the purpose of testing that is to ensure that it meets the business and user requirements. So users, the accountants who want to produce clean financial statements. You're going to test the AIS to make sure it does that. Make sure they're quality, find defects during the development of an accounting information system. That is the purpose. This is just multiple choice question, jargon taken right from there. Legacy systems. What's a legacy system? Well, if you're still using, let's say, Windows XP or Windows Vista, one of these old Older operating systems, that's what a legacy system is. It's an outdated computer system, programming language, or application software. If you just never updated your Microsoft Office, if you're still using, Microsoft version from '97, Windows something, that's a legacy system. I know it's nice to get familiar with something, and I know it's change is hard, right? But it generally is good to update and use the newest version of something. So, but legacy systems, sometimes they're supported for a while until the company says, "Hey, we're not going to really provide support for this anymore. We're kind of moving on. We need to just we need you to get with it, get with the future." All right. So, what about a validation test? What is that? That is confirmation that a product meets its intended use and the needs of its users. The process of ensuring if the tested and developed software satisfies the client or user needs. A good question to ask for a validation test is, did we build the right system for the user's needs? That's to validate what you did. Did you properly build the system? I don't know. That is for you to decide and for you to conduct a validation test to make sure that the accounting information system you built or the assembly line you built meets the end user's needs. And lastly, who are the users? When we talk about users, I've kind of talked about who they are. These are who enter data or use the information processed by a system. So in the beginning, those who enter data into the AIS or those who use the data that or the financial statements or whatever's produced by the system, those are all users. You could have just end users or beginning users, just users in general. These could be anyone from accountants and secretaries to customers and CEOs. Awesome, awesome there. Okay, now this is a flow chart. All right, great, we're done. So yeah, here's a flow chart. Just to kind of cover in general, you need to know there are technically you do need to know like scatter plot charts and graphics and bar charts and all of those. Have I ever seen that tested? Have I ever heard of that being important in the exam? Well, I have not. So is it worth your time? No. However, is a flowchart more important? Yes, it is. Why is that? Well, it's much more relevant to the accounting world. We're going to see this in audit as well, which is nice that you'll see this, right? You'll see an internal control flowchart, or you do a walkthrough of a client or a company. This is not built, particularly to resemble any sort of process. It's just, okay, step one goes to step two to step three. The shapes all mean something different. You'll learn that in audit. Not important for BEC, but just understanding what a flowchart is, that it is relevant in the accounting world, right? It is something to know. This could be your operations, right? Okay, we buy the product goes to the manufacturing plant, we make product. If it doesn't get built successfully, it goes back and gets reworked. If it does get built successfully, it goes to the warehouse. Once it gets sold, right, it goes to the client, the invoice gets generated, blah blah blah. That's the general process. Or it could be, okay, when an employee submits a receipt for reimbursement, goes to I don't know, the controller approves it. If it doesn't get approved, it gets sent back to the employee. If it does get approved, then it gets processed for direct deposit to the employee. They get their money back, and we're done. That's generally the flowchart process. Just being familiar with the flowchart, what it is, and making sure you are good to go. Nothing wild here. Let's wrap it all up.
Hey there! Are you ready to not only pass your CPA exams, but truly understand and enjoy the material while studying? I know it seems impossible, right? Especially to enjoy the material? We'll do it together. Tap into the power of CPA.examprep.ai, where we've got personalized quizzes, multiple choice questions, memorization guides, flashcards, simulations, all tailored to your learning. Our adaptive study planning puts you on the fastest path to success and lifts you back up if you fall behind. Avoid wasting your precious time and money attempting an exam with a low chance of passing, because who wants that? We want to get you through this process as quick as possible. Our exam readiness prediction lets you walk in with confidence, knowing that you're prepared for success on exam day. Thankfully, there's no payment method needed to get started, so why don't you come join us? Visit cpa.examprep.ai and let's achieve your exam success together.